Well, good afternoon and welcome to this episode of Business Basics with Action Coach Campus. And my special guest is actually a repeat interviewee, Don Dotson from the Omaha area. Welcome, Don.
Thank you, Lee.
Hey, you know what, Don? So as you and I were talking earlier, I think it's important for people to understand the process of business coaching. And you went through this process just recently. So give us the backstory on where you were before you met, Action Coach, and what business was like for you and your wife, and how that worked, and then how Action Coach kind of came into play.
Okay. Well, we have a cleaning business. We focused on commercial cleaning and carpet cleaning mainly. And, we bought it in 2006. So for the first 12 years or so, we worked in the business. Initially, my wife and I, we both had full-time jobs, and we ran this at night. Quite a few times there'd be times where we'd get that phone call in the middle of the night, and we'd have to take our daughter, who was 1 year old, to our neighbors at midnight or 1 in the morning, and we'd have to go clean bars and restaurants all night. And then we'd come back, take my daughter to daycare, and we'd go work all day and then try to catch some sleep.
Don, how'd you do that? I mean, seriously, that seems so overwhelming to me.
Yeah, well, it kind of put a strain on our marriage when we first bought the business, because we didn't know what we were doing. Right. We were both in the corporate world, and we thought we knew how to run a business, but until you actually run the business, you don't realize that it's a whole different skill set you need.
Right.
And that skill set isn't taught anywhere. Except now I know through Action Coach, but back then I didn't. So we just fumbled through it. And, 12 years of this. And, I remember we have a lake home now, and I'm down there for Memorial Weekend, and we just get down there, and I get that phone call that we were doing amusement parks at the time. It was the first day they were open, big day for amusement park, and we had problems, and I had to come back.
Wow.
Same thing happened on the 4th of July. So we were really struggling that way, but we really didn't know. We thought we just had to hustle and grind more.
But you had the tenacity of a bulldog. I mean, 12 years of doing it that way.
Yeah. So, I'm going to say 9 years into it, 8 years into it probably is when I ended up, the company I was with actually got sold and moved to Kentucky, and I wasn't going to move to Kentucky. So, I just started doing this full time. And at that point, it wasn't too bad because, I'd have to work all night, but then I could sleep all day. But then when I got to Action Coach, and I started going through learning the 5 ways and the 6 steps, I was like, all right, this is really interesting. This is good.
And that's a good story, Don. You got to tell that story. I've heard you say it before, how you met your coach.
Well, so the way I met my coach was he had called and wanted some carpet cleaning done at the Success Center where he coaches Action Coach. And so I'm in there myself because my carpet guy, there's some problem with him. So I was in there cleaning his carpets, and he asked me if I ever wanted to join Action Club or become get some coaching or anything like that. And initially I was like, well, this seems kind of hokey, just let me clean these carpets, and didn't think anything of it. But I felt like, well, the guy's having me clean his carpets, so I'll go ahead and I'll do your little free seminar thing. So, and that was, I don't remember, it was either the 5 ways or the 6 steps, one of those 2, I don't remember. But I went to that, and I was amazed at the things I learned on that. So from that, I went ahead and joined Action Club and Growth Club with that. So, yeah. The first thing I really had was in Growth Club, we make these 90-day plans. Hold on here. We might have to cut this. Can you edit these?
Yeah, hang on. I'll just pause.
Right, hold on. Okay. So like I was saying, I did the 90-day plan, and after you go, the way Jim set it up is after you go through, a couple hours of a coaching / educational thing.
And Don, let's jump in there too. So your coach was Jim Barger. over in
Jim
Omaha.
Barger.
Yeah,
You're in
yeah.
Omaha.
And he's about the no pressurist kind of guy I think I've ever met. He is so laid back.
Exactly. There's no pressure to join. There's no pressure. It's just if you want to do it, do it. And if you don't, well, that's fine. Move on. So yeah, yeah. So, and that's what I liked about that. If he was really pressure, because if you're in the disc, if you know the disc analysis, I'm a high S and a high C. So if somebody puts a lot of pressure on me, I'm out.
Right.
So,
right.
But on that 90-day plan, I started with that, and you're doing with your goals, and you're working back. And I came to the things that I needed to do in the first year, and I was looking at that list, and the list was like overwhelming. It was just so many things I had to do just to get to the basics of that first level of mastery on the 6 steps. When I filled out the 6 steps where you put you grade yourself 1 or 0 through 10 on all these different boxes, I had 0 or 1 in a lot of those boxes. So I had a lot to do. So basically, Jim just said, well, you got to start somewhere. So just pick one. So since I was having so much problems with my team, the first thing I did was I just developed basic checklists for them.
Right.
And it's not going to be perfect. It wasn't perfect. It was like barely, maybe 80% perfect. But what it did was we went through and we gave basic checklists for all of our accounts and all the hiring procedures and things like that. And I just basically told them, these aren't perfect. Maybe they're 50% perfect, but go through and fill it out, and we'll make some quick general corrections, which we did. And then basically I just gave those back to them and said, all right, so now we got 3 months. I want you to really do it detailed, but I'm not going to mess with them. They're good enough for now, and they're better than what we had. So we're going to run with these. And then I basically moved to where I started documenting everything in our operations. How we, in my situation, since it was commercial cleaning, we're documenting how we clean each building and all the steps needed to do that. And that basically took, 4 months because it was just so labor intensive. And
you're just keeping notes in a 3-ring binder or something, right?
Yep. And I still have that binder, and I keep it because I just keep adding to it. All our 90-day plans are ding, 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 ding. I can see it. And then after that, we did the same thing where we got it kind of halfway, 80%. And then all right, you got the next 3 months to clean this up. And so then we went and we did video-based training. And that was basically, again, if you look at the commercial cleaning side, it was how to vacuum, how to clean a toilet. It was all the basic things that an employee needed to know.
Right.
When they're getting paid, when, how to fill this form out. And so that, I didn't think that was going to take very long, but that actually took a while.
Yeah.
So
but
then
it's done, right? Now it's done.
Now it's done. Everybody knows. And so what the deal was is whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, as long as everybody was doing the same thing, then all we had to do was change the procedure, and everybody would now start going this way. It wasn't like before. It was just like cats. Everybody was doing their own thing,
I know that feeling.
So then once we had that, now what happened is we lowered the skill set of what we needed to hire. So before it was always looking for somebody with 3 to 5 years experience, the same as everybody else. So now what we're able to do is we're able to hire on people's beliefs and values and train them up the skills that they needed with these videos. So we cut our turnover for employees and new hires way down to almost 0.
And Don, we're not talking highfalutin videos either, are we? I mean, you didn't hire like a film crew to come in.
Nope, it was me and my phone, and I had my office manager be the actress when she was showing different things. And it was nothing fancy. If you want, I can show you a link to one of them or 2 of them, but you'll see me standing through a mirror. You'll see me just standing there with a camera, my phone. I'm thinking to myself, oh, I should have planned this a little better so you don't see me standing with the phone, but it works and everything's fine. So yeah. And then we just got a little evaluation at the end. It's just to make sure they watched it, because we just got links on YouTube, so they'll pull it up, and then we say, hey, answer these 5 questions about different things in there. So at least we know they watched it. So
Good, good.
very simple.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So once that happened, all of a sudden, probably 75% of my problems went away, people wise.
Really.
Yep. Yep.
And that
So
process, I mean, from the start, from the first time you met Jim Barger until you got through all those videos, that was probably what, 8-9 months or so, probably.
yeah, to get it working pretty good, it was about a year.
Okay.
After a year, that's when I switched to, the whole thing was, I started working with them on my default calendar.
Yes.
And that was tough. Even though it sounds easy, it's actually tough to rely on the calendar to tell you what to do every day.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of every day, I would type in what I was going to do the next day. So I've got a block of time at the beginning of my day, and it's like at 6 in the morning, I think. And I'm not up then, but I should be, but I'm not. But it's just a spot each day where at the end of the next day, I just type in the top 3 things I'm going to do the next day.
Okay.
So I know where they're at. And then I started scheduling time to work on my business. It was usually, I found for me, it was better to just block 4 hours on a day.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of piecemealing it. And then, everything that I wanted to do, that was important enough, I just physically blocked time off.
Right.
Unless somebody was on fire, I was not going to move those times.
Right.
Because I was like everybody else. If I was wanting to work, I had a time blocked and it was doing estimates or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, let's say I was going to work on the business, whether it was working on me or doing checklists or something like that. And there'd be a customer call up that says, "Hey, can I get an estimate on something?"
Right.
I would drop what I was doing and I'd go do it, and then I'd never come back to working on the business.
Mm-hmm.
And so it forced me to say, "No, I'm tied up at that time. I can do it another time." On occasion, there would be times where it wouldn't work out. So I made my own personal, I guess, policy that if it was important enough to put on the calendar, then it was important enough not to erase.
Okay.
So if I had on there 4 hours of working on checklists or working on the business, whatever it was, and somebody absolutely needed me during this time,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't delete that. I just moved it to another spot on my calendar.
Yes.
And that really just kept the ball rolling. It eliminated the excuses of, well, I didn't have time.
Well, it also makes you think about the things you're going to put on your calendar it's with intention. They better have it's not, I'm going to go out and buy ice cream. It's to an end.
Oh yeah. So, and then you just repeat it every week, or if it's once a month or whatever. But the nice thing is it allowed me really to go to sleep at night and enjoy when I was doing something. Because a lot of times I would kind of feel guilty if I went and did something that was, entertainment for me or my family. A lot of times it was, while I was doing the entertainment, I'd be thinking about something else I needed to do for work. But it gave me permission to enjoy that time because I know I've set time aside to do the other stuff that I need. It allowed me to go to sleep because I wasn't sitting there thinking, oh, I got to do all this stuff. I've already typed it in at the end of the day for the next day, the top 3 things I needed to do.
That is so insightful. And any business owner has had that same feeling. I mean, even going to your kid's football game on a Friday night, you're in the back of your head thinking, I should be doing this and this and this.
Yep.
And that's the way you solve that problem. I love that.
Yep. And so honestly, once I remember there was a time, probably about that year, a little more than a year after I had started with Action Coach, I was at home and it was an evening, and my wife's like, "Don't you have something to do tonight?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." And honestly, it felt weird.
Right.
It felt weird. Kind of like, I'm assuming it feels like, the person that worked a job and hustle and grind all his life, and then 65 comes and he retires.
Right.
He's like, well, now what do I do?
Right.
That's kind of how I felt. And So, back then I was working in the business, 60 hours a week. It was constant.
Wow.
Now we got all the systems in place, and like I've said quite a few times, it's about 2 to 3 hours a week.
So you got to the point now to where all the systems are working well. You've identified what you need for a good team member. So now you also have a general manager that's working for you as well.
Yes.
That's
And
great.
so now what we're trying to do is we've documented everything in the office for the most part, from scripts on how to answer the phone to checklists, the weekly and the monthly checklists. So now the two things we're working on is expanding into other venues, other towns. And then the other thing is on my 90-day plan, I'm working on, we're splitting the company into some different things, but the main thing on mine is I'm creating an audit system so that somebody can go through and verify that the systems are working the way they should. And it's basically, we've divided it into 12 areas, and we're going through, and in January we're doing the customer experience. We're going through everything customer sees. In February it's the employee experience, going through the manuals and all that, and we just keep going down the line, and so everything gets checked that we're doing what we say we're going to do once a year. And so
that is such a high C thing, Don. it's genius, but it's a high C thing.
Well, the deal is I look at the things I do and I think to myself, how can I just automate this so that I don't have to do it again?
Right.
So the plan is this year's goal was, at the end of the year, I could call up and just say, hey, I'm going to take a year off.
Okay.
And that exactly, the office would just say, okay. They'd probably be glad, but they don't really see me that much. We do some phone calls or Zooms, right now, but so another thing that was weird to me was I used to know everybody's name, their spouse, their kid, their dog, everything. And now I've got people, I was just looking because we were just doing payroll today. I was looking through the list and I was like, I don't think I've met a third of these people, and so that's weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
So, and that's just the deal. You just have to learn how to adjust and expand your comfort level so that you can do things.
Yeah, a friend of mine owns a hamburger, or did. He sold it, but he owned a hamburger restaurant up in Iowa City. And he was at that same point where he got the business to work without him in it. And they had a private, for employees only, Christmas party. And so he was living upstairs at the time, and he came downstairs and went walking in, and the waitress stops him at the door, says, I'm sorry, sir, this is a private party only for the employees. He said, thanks for that, but it's my name on your paycheck.
Well, Brad Sugars, he has that story about, he owns the La Cave restaurant at the Wynn Casino there in Vegas. And he talks about how he'll go in and just say, yeah, I've got a reservation for Sugars for 4. And they'll say, okay, Mr. Sugars, they'll take him to his seat. And his daughter says, I don't think they know that, you own this place. And he says, that's a sign of a successful business where, you're not in it enough that, the hostess lady doesn't know that you're here. Now, obviously the general manager came over and said hi and all that, but he was just in there eating and probably checking his systems, but
probably. Right. And you do, you secret shop yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. By all means. So you're at the point now where you could be gone for 2 months if you wanted to. Yeah.
I got COVID back in January. So it was about 3 weeks where I was pretty much laid out and couldn't go in. And, honestly, if that happened 2-3 years earlier, I would have been in big trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's good. I mean, that's good. So you followed the Action Coach system. It made sense. You applied the tools and the strategies that Action Coach teaches to the point now to where you're also a coach for Action Coach.
Yep. So at the beginning of COVID, after things were all kind of starting to run itself and we're halfway quarantine, I needed something to fill my time up, and Jim, again, he'd for probably the last year or so, I've been talking about me becoming a coach, and I did the same thing I did to him last time when I was cleaning his carpets. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm kind of happy where I'm at. And so then I'm like, again, probably just like the retired person that just got on retirement. I'm like, I'm getting kind of bored. So I thought, what a great way to help businesses, get their time back so they can enjoy their life. So I went through the training, in August here of 2020. And since then I've been coaching a bunch of businesses. So
that's fantastic. And your family sees more of you now, which is a good thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would say so, but they might not.
All right, Don, any parting thoughts here?
No, the most important thing I did, other than just following the system, was I can't tell you the amount of hours I spend every week. I don't read very well, so I don't read books, but I do audio books. I do, the YouTube channel. I'm on that all the time, whether it's, Brad Sugars, obviously, or Jim Rohn, or Zig Ziglar, or any of these, 1 Minute Manager, any type of book on that. I'm constantly reading and learning that, so that, like Brad says, your business can't grow past your incompetence. So,
right. I love that. I love that. And that's good advice for anybody. I mean, just keep reading books or listening to books.
Yep.
And that's how we grow our businesses.
Yeah.
Improve our own business acumen, I guess. So,
yep.
Well, Don, thanks very much. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks,
I'll
Lee.
talk to you soon. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.